Good morning. It is Monday, April 27th, 2020. Do you realize that we only have 2 more Mondays, including today, before your AP test? It's true. Only 2 more Mondays are left. So, and only 2 more Mondays are left before your grades are due. Grades are due for you at sunset, May 15th. So, we're getting there. I realize it's for some of you, it may seem like time has stopped and come to a halt, but it's not the case. You're very close. Hello, Syra. It's always good to see you guys come into the chat and post some questions. I hope you guys are doing well at home and things are as good as they can be. So I've heard from a number of you about your college plans. You're going to go on. Some of you are leaving the area. Some of you are staying here. I think that's pretty exciting. Today, taking questions about the AP test, the topic of today's class, which was line of reasoning, and senior stuff, anything else you have questions about. I did post something in Google Classroom just a few minutes ago that Ms. Tapia put up about if you didn't get to take a senior formal picture, there's a way for you to do that. So we want to take a look at that post. I'm not seeing a lot undermined, so let's kind of talk about some of the highlights from the class. I'll be putting up my notes and a screenshot from this, screenshots from the class, because I thought there was a lot of helpful stuff that I think you guys could use. They talk about the 1-point thesis and how the 1-point thesis, because you only get 1 point. You either have a thesis that answers the prompt or you don't. Hello, Julian. It's very good to see you. You either have a thesis that gives you 1 point or you don't. And they've talked about how in other classes, they've also talked about how they can, you can get a point with your thesis, but then, that thesis doesn't get you very far as the 3 up to 4 organization points. And in one thing that one of the teachers said in the class today, I thought it was worth repeating. It says your thesis must answer the prompt, not just repeat it. And think about it this way: if somebody calls you and says, "Hey, you want to go to the movie? You want to go see a movie?" And I know what you're thinking. How do we go see a movie? But let's, after coronavirus goes away, somebody calls you and says, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie?" And you respond with, "Oh, you want to go see a movie?" And then you hang up. You've repeated the prompt, but you haven't answered it. You've repeated the question, but you haven't answered it. And so the person's confused. In fact, you probably said no by doing that. But, dating isn't an essay. So you have to be clear. You have to answer the prompt in a way that is meaningful without, instead of just repeating the prompt. You can't just repeat it. In fact, if you repeat it, you might lose that thesis point. And then if you don't have a thesis, it's hard to get organization points. So you're pretty much dead in the water. So your thesis must answer the prompt, not just repeat it. And then the top of the class, how can you write a thesis that gives you a line of reasoning that will make your organization strong? Now, I recommend that if you haven't watched today's class yet, I recommend you set aside an hour, because I think you should watch it twice. And if you've already watched it, I would, after this Q&A, I would go back and watch it again. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of information with respect to, the teacher's impressions about what's important. But the reason I would really watch it twice is they spend some time going through some writing samples. And those are very helpful to you to go through those writing samples. And I can put up writing samples and go through them with you too. And, we've done that a few times in the class as far as going through model essays, sample essays, and, showing you what works and what doesn't work. But they both do that. And sometimes it's helpful to hear the perspectives of other people besides your own teacher. That's one reason why, I give you extra credit for going to those AP review sessions that they had at Townview, because sometimes it's good. Sometimes hearing information from a new voice presented in a new way gets through in ways that it doesn't from your teacher. So I recommend that you watch it twice so that you have time to kind of digest what they're saying about the sample writing as far as pulling a line of reasoning from the thesis all the way through your body paragraphs, all the way to the end. It's going to be helpful for you. They put up 3 sample thesis statements on one of the screenshots, and that'll be something that I post in Google Classroom so you can see them. And they give you a good one, and they give you a bad, well, they give you an okay one, they give you one that won't work, and then they give you one that really works. The first one, it sets up that complexity, it sets up that opposition, but it doesn't say what it's going to do with it. And so it gets the 1 point, and it's possible that that writer could go further and do very well in the organization. But as far as the thesis is just okay. And then the second thesis that they put up, they do have the opposition, but they don't suggest what the connection is. They don't say, what am I going to do with this opposition? This is kind of there. And then the third one, the third thesis that's really strong, it uses the word shift, and it uses transition phrases in the essay. Now, you might say, do I have to use the word shift in my essay? Well, remember that the question is going to be about prose analysis. So you're either talking about a complex attitude that a character has, or you're going to be talking about complexity in a mood. And a lot of times when there's complexity in a mood, something changes. I mean, think about it. When you start dating somebody, everything's terrific, for a while. And then things shift. And maybe things remain terrific, but they don't remain terrific for the same reasons. You develop it remains terrific because you find other areas that you have in common. You find that not only is this person someone you're really attracted to, but they're also, really a great friend, which is, a terrific combination. In other situations, that initial attraction shifts. You find out other things about the person that make you less likely to want to keep dating that person. But either way, there's a shift. And when you're talking about character development, the word development suggests a shift because you develop from one thing to another. When you talk about development or shift in a mood, you talk about, moving from this mood to that mood. When you talk about complexity in a mood, think about any TV show or movie that you've watched where there's a mood and then you realize, oh my goodness, there's more going on than I thought. And because something shifted. Well, what noticed? So yes, the word shift is, shall we say, a trendy one when it comes to AP writing. So I might find a way to work it in to my exam. So that's my thought about that. A couple other things that they mentioned near the end. There is a website called Quill that is going to be setting up some free writing resources for AP students to use. Now, you might be thinking, I'm about to leave. Well, that's true. But if you're going to take that test, 2 weeks from Wednesday, you realize that? And you have time and you have the opportunity and you don't have siblings, fighting you for the laptop. If you have time, you might spend some time, and if you have a hard time building sentences that are complex, so you might spend some time there. So I'll set that up and I'll send the resource around how you can link to it. The other resource they talked about, you already have. You can log into your College Board account and you can go to the optional practice. If you watch the class today, they take you through step by step how to get to the website. The sound goes off on their website for a minute, but if you follow the mouse clicks to where they're going, then you'll be able to get there. Optional practice. What does optional mean? Well, right now we're only giving you 1 grade a week, and we have this. So what does optional mean? It means for people who have the time and realize that they want to put as much time into getting a passing score or even better on their AP test as possible, they'll go do those things. And I get it. It's not something that everybody can do right now. But if you have access to it and you have the time, and then it might be something that you go do. And it's optional practice. You'll write what they ask you to write and you'll submit it, and they'll tell you, the grading algorithm will tell you how you did. And then you can fix it. And then you can go back and, do more. One thing that one of the teachers said today that I thought was very insightful was that she said that one of the most useful things that we can do for you is help you realize when your writing needs to be improved. In other words, if you write something, by this point, you shouldn't really need to turn it into me to know if anything's wrong. Now, I will make suggestions, and I might notice things that you don't. But for the most part, especially if you've been in the AP class for 2 years now, you should have a sense of what's going to pass and what's not. And, what's good, what's adequate, and what's terrific, and what's, Adamson level, as we like to say. So something to think about. So if you log in and go to optional practice, there's lots to do there. This week's graded assignment will be practice essay number 7. It's going to be on the prompt that they worked on last week. So if you go to the classes, they'll help you a little bit with unpacking. Tomorrow's lesson on that I'll put up, we'll break down the prompt a little bit and help you give you some ideas, but not many, because on May 13th, there's not going to be anybody breaking down the prompt for you. You got to break it down yourself. So any questions? Now is the perfect time to put questions in your mind or in the live chat here. Okay, well, if that's it, expect that video about essay number 7 to be up no later than 10:30 tomorrow, and then Q&A at 11:50. The class tomorrow, the 11 o'clock class, they're going to be talking about that other essay prompt that they put up. So you can watch that if you want, or you can not. They'll just show you how to break down another prompt, and the more experience you have breaking down prompts, I think the better off you'll be. So it would be helpful to watch it. All right, so Valerie says there's something called Adopt a Senior. Well, there's a Facebook group called, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Okay, it's called Sunset Seniors 2020 Adopt a Senior. It's a Facebook group. So basically, your parents or you join that group, put up pictures and a phrase, some information about yourself, where you're going to college, maybe some of your favorite memories. Just make a little, if you're not on Facebook already, it's free, and you can join. Or if your parents are on Facebook, they can set this up for you. Put pictures of yourself, and then someone out in the community, which there are lots of people, teachers, Sunset alums. It is crazy, because as soon as a Sunset senior goes up, it's like, somebody grabs them and adopts them. What does that mean that they'll adopt you? Well, as part of the process, you fill out this sheet of paper that says all the things that you like, and so somebody's going to bring you, a gift basket of some kind to celebrate you being a graduate. So it's kind of a nice thing that Ms. Tapia set up for the, actually some parents set it up, because they're like, what can we do to recognize seniors? Because, having walked across